Nature spends millions of years building an apex predator. But sometimes humans try to speed up the process and make a massive, irreversible mistake. What happens when you cross the brute strength of a wild European beast with the rapid breeding of a domestic farm animal? The answer is not just an animal. It is a biological nightmare machine. They do not respect fences. They do not fear people. They learn from our mistakes. Today, Brazil faces the worst biological invasion in its entire history. A creature that inherited the absolute worst of both worlds, powered by hybrid vigor. Meet the super pig. The monster we created, let loose, and now simply cannot stop. Out in the wild, these feral pigs completely overpower Brazil's native wild pigs, the collared peccary and the white-lipped peccary. Even though they look like cousins, native peccaries belong to a totally different family tree. Because of that, they cannot crossbreed with the invaders. Running in massive herds, these super pigs steal food and bring invisible diseases that our native wildlife simply have no defense against. The farm damage is brutal. Entire cornfields end up flattened like a tractor just plowed right through them. And the worst part? They rarely finish what they eat. They usually just take one bite of a stalk or corn cob and move on, leaving behind a massive trail of waste. If there are no crops around, they will attack sheep flocks and chicken farms. They even eat dead, rotting meat. But the worst destruction happens where cameras cannot see deep inside the dense forest. Feral swine cannot sweat. To keep their body temperature down, they desperately need mud. If there is no mud around, they make their own. They rip through crystal clear water springs and turn them into filthy mud pits. This literally chokes out the springs and kills off countless native animals that need fresh water. On top of that, their snout works like a steel shovel. They tear up the forest floor looking for roots, wild mushrooms, and small animals. While digging, they devour any eggs from ground nesting birds they can find, like wild rees and partridges. Wherever these invasive pigs settle, local Brazilian biodiversity goes into pure panic. They are pushing local wildlife straight toward extinction simply by eating absolutely everything in sight. Then there is the invisible threat. The feral pig acts as the perfect deadly bridge between the wild jungle and commercial farms. They roam deep into the woods, but they also raid cattle troughs and domestic pig pens, spreading a massive list of dangerous diseases. They carry rabies, tuberculosis, leptospirosis, and brucellosis. But the real nightmare goes by two names: foot and mouth disease and classical swine fever. It took Brazil years of hard work to control these diseases. If feral pigs bring foot and mouth disease back into national livestock, global trade borders will slam shut immediately. The financial damage would easily reach into the billions of dollars. This is not just some environmental issue. This is a strict matter of national security. All this because an adult male can easily weigh over 400 pounds. But this is not soft farm pig fat. It is pure dense muscle and hard callus. They developed a massive layer of thick skin around their shoulders that acts just like armor. This solid plate of leather, fat, and dried mud can be 2 inches thick. It literally works like a bulletproof vest. Many hunters report firing shots that simply fail to penetrate, deflecting right off this natural body armor, and their attacks are extremely brutal. Their huge tusks are not just for show, they are self-sharpening razors. Every time they chew, the bottom teeth grind against the top ones, maintaining a deadly sharp edge. A fully grown super pig stands with its head perfectly level with a human thigh. When they attack, it is not a normal bite. It is a violent slashing strike that turns fatal in seconds. If it were just brute strength, maybe we could win. But this feral beast has a secret weapon, highly advanced social intelligence. They travel in tightly knit groups, and the boss is never the biggest male. It is always the oldest female, the matriarch. She holds a mental map of the whole territory. She knows where to find food and exactly where hunters placed traps last week. These animals have incredible long-term memory. If just one herd member gets caught in a trap, the entire group instantly learns to avoid that specific setup forever. They completely switch their schedules. If daylight hunting starts, they instantly turn into nocturnal ghosts. These feral pigs are ultimate survivors, but running from danger isn't their only move. Corner them, and these animals strike without a second thought. There are documented wild hog attacks on people, and some turn fatal. Facing a fast-breeding enemy that ruins water sources and hurts the economy, Brazil made a historic call in 2013. Hunting wild animals is a strict crime there with zero bail, but the wild boar and its hybrids are the one and only exception. Population control measures were officially greenlit by the agency IBAMA. Enter the wildlife controller. This is definitely not a sport. It is pure damage control. But hunting a feral hog on its own turf is tough. In the dense brush, they have the advantage. Hunters quickly notice something wild about these beasts. They actually set up ambushes. Trackers say the wild hog will fake a retreat, baiting them into rough terrain. Then it suddenly spins around and counterattacks, causing some truly brutal accidents. Tracking dogs actually wear Kevlar vests and GPS collars out there. Just one hit from a massive boar's tusks can easily be fatal. Not to mention, these animals can sprint up to 50 kilometers an hour. So where did this all begin? The whole story starts far from Brazil, in Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Over there, wild boars are native. Their numbers are kept in check by harsh winters and big predators like wolves, bears, and African leopards. But back in the early 20th century, folks had a dangerously bad idea bringing this heavy beast all the way down to South America. The initial goal was simple enough: exotic meat and sport hunting. Argentina recorded their arrival in 1904, and Uruguay followed suit shortly after. But wild nature doesn't care about borders drawn on a map. When they crossed into Brazil, these animals practically found paradise. No freezing snow to kill them, zero wolves to hunt them down. Conditions were absolutely perfect for them. People eventually lost interest in the hunt. So many of these boars were turned loose or just escaped from their breeding pens. When they crossed paths with the common domestic pig, absolute disaster struck. Pure wild boars are very strong, but they breed slowly, dropping only 3 to 5 piglets per litter. Domestic pigs are much weaker, but they breed like crazy, pushing out 20 piglets in a single litter. That unholy mix created the feral hog. It combined the raw power of a boar with the extreme breeding rate of a farm pig. The result is a heavier, faster breeding animal than its European cousins. Plus, pure, unhinged aggression was hardwired straight into their DNA. Fighting them is a raw, dangerous, and totally exhausting battle. The big question on everyone's mind is, can we actually win this war? The answer from the experts is pretty brutal. Probably not. Wiping out the feral pig population across Brazil is already considered practically impossible. There are millions of them spreading across every biome, from the Pampas to the Pantanal, pushing right toward the Amazon. All we have left is pure damage control. It means endless vigilance, keeping their numbers low enough so native wildlife can catch a breath and local farms can survive. The whole story of this feral hog invasion is another bitter lesson in human arrogance. We thought we could just shuffle species across continents like pieces on a chessboard. Now the monster we made stares back from the tree line, a dark reminder that nature always collects the debt when you wreck its balance. What used to be an issue isolated down south has now violently exploded across more than 800 towns all over Brazil. So, do you think controlling these feral hogs is even possible? Help us spread the word by hitting like and share. Because even as you watch this video, the wild herd just keeps advancing.